Okay, day 37, this is part 2 here in front of the Supreme Court. I wanted to talk about Dred Scott. If you're not familiar with the Dred Scott case, it's a slave in 1857. I think it was before that. The case was tried in 1857 and decided on. And he basically said, okay, I want to go over this line here to Maryland. I want to get out of here, get out of DC and go over to Maryland, the Free State. It was actually Missouri at the time, but you get the idea that I'm just walking from one side of a border to another. And that's how a lot of slaves got their freedom, just by going over the border. And the court said, well, when you went over the border, you really didn't become a citizen because you were black and you weren't a citizen, you were a slave. So you didn't gain any rights when you did this. When you walked over on this side, you didn't gain any rights. Therefore, slave catchers could come, catch you, and locate you and yank you back. Sort of like geolocating you. They would follow you, they'd follow you with dogs, they'd follow you with the technologies of the day and geolocate you wherever you were on this side of the border and drag you back. Geolocate. That's very simple. Well, the Supreme Court upheld that decision. Probably the worst decision ever in the Supreme Court's history. And this group over here passes the 14th Amendment that moots this ruling. So you can have a branch of government fix another branch of government's worst decision. That is possible. There is precedent there. Now I ask this question. If you have an agency, a rogue agency, in, let's just call it a FBI in this case, using satellite technology to track you and geolocate you, using cell phone technology, let's just say this is a cell phone, using cell phone technology to geolocate you, using human intelligence to geolocate you, okay, fusing it all together into an application like NADRA, which these folks over here are going to be working on when we find that out. So is that also not a way of geolocating you? And is that information available? Well, yes, it is available because it happened to me. I was there. And not only that, this agency that did the geolocation and the fusing of this information at DISA in Virginia admits they did it. JTTF, South Carolina, admits they did it. They admit they were geolocating me way before the events of me trying to go out and meet that informant later that night. So, I ask this. If you are allowing a federal enforcement branch to geolocate you, aren't you basically doing the same thing as Dred Scott? Just following the person everywhere? The only thing that's different, instead of using dogs, you're using satellites. You're still geolocating. Instead of sense of smell of the dog, the sense of sight for the satellite. Okay? So, geolocation, though, in a way, makes us all Dred Scott, because it applies to every citizen in the United States. Snowden proved that they're going to collect it all in terms of the cell phone. That's going to represent the cell phone. I'm going to prove that they're collecting it all in terms of NGA and DISA, and they're bringing it all together in DISA. So, in that sense, we're really all Dred Scott. The only difference between us and Dred Scott is we have no way of going over the border to get our rights back. There's nowhere we can go. There's no way out. So in a sense, this lawsuit's more important than Dred Scott, because it's really fighting for the fundamental rights, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and to own property for every individual in the United States. We're all in this together. We're all Dred Scott. Now, what remedies are available? This court is not going to do it. It has to be brought here. These folks have to fix it. You can't